She was cold, hungry, and alone, until he opened his door. The rain didn't stop all day. The streets were dark, wet, and empty. Luke walked home from his night shift, holding a broken umbrella. His boots splashed through puddles. He was tired, hungry, and ready to collapse. But just as he turned the corner to his building, he saw her, a girl, sitting on the cold sidewalk. Barefoot, soaking wet, her arms were wrapped around her legs. Her long dark hair was stuck to her face. She looked about 20, but something in her eyes felt older. She didn't speak. She didn't ask for help. She just stared at the ground. Luke stopped. Others had passed her already. Cars drove by. No one looked twice. But he couldn't move. Something inside him said, "Don't leave her here." He stepped closer. "Hey, are you okay?" The girl didn't answer. Her body shivered hard. Her lips were blue. He took off his coat and bent down. "Here, take this." Still, she said nothing. But she looked up, just for a second. And her eyes, they were silver. Not gray. Silver. He blinked, then looked again. Now they were dark brown. Maybe it was the light. Maybe he was too tired. He helped her stand. "You can't stay out here. Come on, just for the night." He led her into the building. His apartment was small, only one room, a tiny kitchen and a worn-out sofa. She didn't complain. She didn't touch anything. She stood in the corner like a statue, still shaking. He handed her a towel and pointed to the heater. "You can sit there, dry off." She nodded slowly. Still no words. Luke made soup, simple, just noodles and water. He placed the bowl on the table. She walked over slowly, sat down. Then finally, she whispered, "Thank you." Her voice was soft, almost too soft. But he heard it. They didn't talk much that night. She ate in silence. When she finished, she curled up on the sofa, holding his coat. Luke gave her a blanket. "You can sleep here. I'll take the floor." But she was already asleep. That night, Luke didn't sleep well. Something felt strange. Not wrong. Just different. Like the room was full of quiet energy. He kept seeing her eyes. That strange silver glow. The next morning, she was still asleep when he made coffee. When she finally woke up, she sat up slowly. Her skin looked pale, but clean now. Her hair was dry. She looked almost normal. But not quite. Luke sat across from her. "So, what's your name?" She paused, then said, "Lyra." He smiled. "That's a nice name." She nodded. He tried to ask more, but she only gave short answers. No last name, no address, no story. He didn't press her. Some people just needed space. But when he left for work, he gave her a spare key. "In case you want to stay another night." She took it without speaking. Just a quiet look. Almost like confusion. Almost like she didn't understand kindness. That night, when he came back, she was sitting on the floor, holding a glowing object. It looked like a crystal, but it floated slightly in the air, spinning. When she saw him, she quickly hid it in her coat. Luke froze. What was that? Lyra stood slowly. Her eyes flickered. Nothing. But her voice shook. Her hands trembled. And Luke suddenly felt cold, like the room had changed. He took a step forward. "I saw it. You don't have to hide." Suddenly, the lamp beside her sparked. Light bulbs flickered. His phone buzzed and shut off. Everything went quiet. Dead. Lyra looked scared. But not of him. "I didn't mean to. It happens when I'm nervous." He stared. "What are you?" Lyra didn't answer. She just whispered, "I'm sorry." Then turned toward the door. And ran. Luke chased after her, but she was gone. Vanished into the night. No footprints. No trace. only his apartment door wide open, and a single silver hair left behind on the couch. She spoke softly, but her eyes said she wasn't human. 3 days passed. Luke checked the streets every night. Same corner, same alley. No sign of her. He almost thought he imagined it all. The glowing object, the flickering lights, her silver eyes. But then, on the 3rd night, he found something on his windowsill. His coat, folded, dry, clean, and resting on top of it, a crystal. Small, dim, still faintly warm. He looked out the window, heart racing, then froze. She was there, across the street, watching. He ran outside. Lyra. She didn't move, didn't run this time. Just waited. He reached her, breathing hard. You left without a word. She looked down. I wasn't ready. I'm still not. He stared into her eyes. They weren't brown anymore. Not glowing either. But shifting. Like moonlight on water. He didn't ask questions this time. Just said, "You're not safe out here. Come back. Please." She hesitated, then nodded. Inside the apartment, she didn't sit this time. She stood near the window, hands hidden in her sleeves. Luke placed the crystal on the table. "What is this?" "A signal," she whispered. But I turned it off. He walked closer. "What are you running from?" Lyra stayed quiet, then finally said, "Not what. Who?" She looked at him, and in that moment, something shifted. He saw pain, guilt, loneliness, but also something else. Truth. "I wasn't born here," she said. "I came here to disappear. My kind, we don't hide well. We shine when we feel, when we're scared." That night, I was both. Luke sat down, trying to process. "So, you're not human." She nodded once. "But I look like you because I studied your kind. I just didn't study how to feel like you." Silence filled the room. Then Luke asked the only thing that really mattered to him. "Are you in danger?" She paused. "Yes, but not because of what I did. Because of what I know." She held out her hand, and the crystal on the table rose into the air, floating, soft light swirling inside. "I'm not just hiding," she said. "I'm being hunted." Luke's heart raced. "You brought trouble to my door, didn't you?" Lyra looked down. "I'm sorry, but I didn't know where else to go." He walked to the door, then locked it, turned around. "Then you're not leaving again. Not until you're safe." She looked at him, truly looked. "Why would you help someone like me?" He smiled, though his eyes were serious. "Because you were cold, hungry, alone. And that's all I needed to know." Lyra sat down this time. For the first time, she let her shoulders drop. She looked less like a mystery, and more like someone just trying to survive. That night, Luke couldn't sleep, not because he was afraid of her, but because he wasn't sure who he should fear more, her or the ones chasing her. And just before dawn, the power flickered again. Lyra stood in the kitchen, staring out the window, her hand glowing faintly, her voice barely a whisper. "They're closer now." She collapsed in his arms, and her skin changed before his eyes. It started with a noise, a soft hum, low, vibrating. Luke had just stepped out of the shower when the apartment lights began to flicker again. Not just once, but in a slow pulsing rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. He rushed into the room. Lyra was standing by the window, her back turned, hands gripping the edge of the sill. Her body shook. "Lyra." She didn't answer. She gasped. Her knees gave out. Luke caught her before she hit the ground. Her body burned, hotter than any fever he'd ever felt. And then it began. Her skin shimmered. The color shifted from pale human tones to something glowing and silver blue. Her arms lit with faint symbols, like markings beneath her skin. Her hair lost its color. Her veins glowed. Her body changed, but not in a scary way. It wasn't violent. It was beautiful, terrifying, but beautiful, like a secret the universe had been hiding. Luke held her tightly. She was breathing, but barely. "Stay with me," he whispered. "I'm not letting go." Her eyes fluttered open, now fully silver, bright, pure light. "I can't keep hiding," she said weakly. "This body, this shape, it's breaking." Luke laid her gently on the couch. Sweat covered her glowing skin. He grabbed a wet cloth and pressed it to her forehead. She flinched, not in pain, but in surprise. "You're not afraid," she whispered. He looked into her glowing eyes. "Should I be?" She didn't answer, but her breath slowed. Her glow dimmed, just a little. She was calming down. Then she said something strange. "You're helping me balance. Your energy, it steadies mine." Luke blinked. Energy. Humans have something we don't. You feel deeply, wildly. You connect fast. That emotion, it's strong. When I'm near it, my system fights less. He laughed softly. "So my stubborn heart is good for something." She smiled for the first time. Her glow warmed, not bright, just soft, like moonlight. Suddenly, the crystal on the table lit up. A red spark. Lyra sat up quickly, alarmed. "They found a trace. My shift pulled energy from your home grid. They tracked it." Luke stood. "How long do we have?" She looked up at him, eyes glowing. "Hours, maybe less." Outside, the rain had stopped. But inside, the storm had only just begun. Lyra stood fully now, her alien form flickering in and out like a broken projection. Not because she wanted to, but because she no longer could hide. "If they catch me, they'll erase me." Luke frowned. "Erase. They don't take prisoners. They cleanse." He walked to the door, grabbed his old backpack, opened a hidden drawer, took out a card with an old contact. "I know someone," he said. "She hacks satellites for fun. She can hide you, properly this time." Lyra stared. "You would do that for me?" He looked back at her. "You're not just a stranger anymore. You're the only real thing I've found in a long time." Lyra's glow softened, not from fear, but from something else, something warmer, something almost human. She held out her hand, and for the first time, he took it and felt it. No shock, no pain, just light. She was running from something, and now it knows where she is. The apartment lights shut off. Not just flickered this time, completely dark. Luke stood near the window. The air outside felt still, wrong. He opened the curtain and froze. A small black drone floated silently just above the street. Not a human one. It had no lights, no sound, no serial number. Just a red scanning eye, slowly turning toward the building. Lyra rushed to his side. Her voice was low, tense. "It's one of theirs." Luke didn't ask who they were. He already knew. "Can they see us?" "Not through this glass." "But the energy trace." She looked at the crystal on the table. It was glowing again, fast and bright. "They're locking on." Luke grabbed a blanket and threw it over the crystal. Too late. The drone tilted forward and flew off. "What does that mean?" Luke asked. Lyra's face was pale. "They've marked this place. They'll send the cleaners." Luke didn't like the sound of that. He grabbed his bag and keys. "Then we're not staying here." 10 minutes later, they were gone. Out the back exit, through the alleys, avoiding cameras. Lyra wore a hoodie now, her glow covered, but her skin still shimmered faintly. She moved fast, but Luke could tell her body was weakening again. "We need to get you somewhere safe," he said. Your hacker friend, she reminded him. He nodded. She's off-grid, eastern sector, far side of the city. They reached the subway tunnel. Abandoned line. Dust, echoes, darkness, perfect for disappearing. But as they climbed down, Lyra stopped suddenly. She dropped to one knee, hand on her chest. Luke turned back. Lyra? Her voice shook. They're reaching. Their minds. I can feel them. Too close. Luke helped her up. Her body felt heavier, colder. He looked into her glowing eyes. You're not alone this time. Let me carry some of the weight. She stared at him, then nodded. He wrapped his arm around her and helped her walk. Behind them, miles away, a ship entered the atmosphere, cloaked. Black, silent. No windows, no insignia. Only a single red light pulsing beneath the hull. A voice inside the ship whispered, Target confirmed. Order. Erase. Witnesses. Irrelevant. But Luke and Lyra didn't know that yet. They only knew they had to keep moving. They reached a tunnel checkpoint. A metal door, sealed long ago. Luke knocked in a rhythm. 3 short. 2 long. 1 short. A moment passed. Then a voice answered through the speaker. You better have a good reason for waking me up, soldier boy. It's Lyra, he said. She's not human. She's in danger. Pause. Then a hiss. The door slid open. Behind it stood a woman in a black tank top, tools hanging from her belt. Cybernetic arm. Tired eyes. She looked at Lyra. Lyra looked back. No words, just understanding. The woman, her name was Reese, nodded once. Get in. Fast. Inside was a hidden lab. Glowing screens. Old satellite parts. Energy dampeners. Perfectly illegal. Perfectly hidden. Reese pointed to a bed in the corner. Let her rest. I'll shut the grid down. No signals in or out. Luke laid Lyra down gently. She was sweating again, breathing hard. But she squeezed his hand before closing her eyes. Reese watched them for a moment, then turned to Luke. She's not just rare. She's wanted. He nodded. I don't care. Reese smirked. Then you're in deeper than I thought. Outside, the sky cracked with silent lightning, and the black ship drifted lower. Its scanner searching, its weapons ready. And in the cockpit, something not fully alive, or dead, smiled. It had found her, and this time, it wouldn't miss. He tried to hide her, but the city was no longer safe. The ground shook, just a little, enough to knock a tool off Reese's workbench. Luke looked up from Lyra's side. What was that? Reese checked the feed from her underground scanner. Her face went pale. It's them. I'd seen this pattern once before, when a colony disappeared without explanation. Luke stood fast. Gone. Reese nodded. No survivors, no records, just a blank space in the sky. And you just brought the reason into my lab. Lyra stirred. Her eyes opened, glowing brighter than ever. They're close. She tried to sit up, but her arms were weak. Luke helped her gently. We need to move, she said. Now. Reese hesitated, then walked over to the wall and slammed her fist into a hidden panel. A second door opened behind the lab, dark, dusty, and narrow. Back road, not on the maps, not even mine. They moved quickly. Luke held Lyra up as they walked through the long tunnel. The air grew colder. The lights flickered again. But this time, it wasn't Lyra. It was them. The cleaners were near. Outside the city, in the skies above, the black ship hovered silently. It wasn't made for war. It was made for deletion. It scanned the street systems, security cameras, phone signals, light grids. Everything flickered. Then the ship spoke to the grid itself. Scan all life forms. Match DNA pattern. Report anomalies. Every screen in the city turned white, then black, then showed the face of a woman with silver eyes. Lyra. The city was no longer a city. It was a trap. Luke, Lyra, and Reese emerged from a hidden exit on the far edge of the industrial zone. They were just catching their breath when a drone dropped from the sky. Then another. And another. Reese shouted, "Move E!" They ran. Across broken roads, through narrow paths between dead buildings. One drone fired. The ground exploded near their feet. Lyra fell. Luke turned without thinking and covered her. Another blast hit behind them. When the smoke cleared, Luke coughed hard. But he was still alive. So was she. Barely. Lyra looked up at him, her eyes wild, tears glowing. "I'm sorry. I never wanted you hurt." Luke smiled, blood on his lip. "Too late. I'm already in this. With you." And then her glow changed. Not just silver now. Blue, white, bright. Like the sky breaking open. Her voice deepened. Stronger. Not human. "Then let me protect you this time." She stood. Her hands rose. The drone stopped. Mid-air. Buzzing. Frozen. Then they shattered. Reese stared. She's waking up. Luke held her shoulder. "No, she's becoming." But the ship above wasn't finished. It had seen her power spike. It charged a final weapon. A clean beam. Silent. Instant. Lyra gasped. "They're going to erase the whole block." Reese shouted, "We have to hide." But there was no time. So Lyra did the only thing she could. She walked forward, faced the sky, held out her hands, and she spoke, in a language that wasn't made of words. It was made of memory, pain, love. The beam fired, but it didn't hit. It curved, slowed, and vanished, swallowed by her light. Then the ship turned, left. No explosion, no battle, just silence, and Lyra collapsed again, glowing, but safe. Luke caught her before she hit the ground. She whispered, "They'll be back." But now, they know I'm not alone. He risked everything to save her, even his own life. Lyra was asleep again. This time, not from fear or exhaustion, from burnout. Her body was no longer able to stay solid for long. Her glow flickered in slow pulses, barely there. Luke sat beside her, wiping her forehead. She was too warm, but inside, growing cold. Reese stood in the corner, arms crossed. She said nothing for a long time. Then finally muttered, "She's fading." Luke didn't look at her. There has to be a way to recharge her, a core. Something. Reese sighed. "She's not a machine, Luke. But maybe." She tapped her cybernetic arm. "I've heard of a black site near the Arctic Bridge. It runs off alien cores. Private sector. No ethics. No cameras. And totally off limits." Luke stood. "Then we go." Reese stared at him. "It's suicide. One step inside, and you're dead before you touch the floor." He looked at Lyra. Still breathing. Still glowing faintly. "If I do nothing, she dies anyway." The decision was made. That night, under cover of snow and broken towers, they traveled north. Reese handled the hacking. Luke handled the break-in. He had once been military, special recon. Now he was using those skills again. But not for orders. Not for war. For her. They reached the black site. Steel walls. No lights. No guards outside. Too quiet. Too perfect. Reese whispered, "I can't go in. I've been tagged before." Luke nodded. "Then I go alone." He entered through a service duct, crawled through freezing vents, and dropped into the cold heart of the lab. No alarms. No voices. Just humming. Machines. And in the center, the core. Floating. bright. It pulsed like a heart, like hers. He reached out, but a voice stopped him. "You shouldn't be here." He turned. A man in a clean suit stood nearby, unarmed but calm. "That core isn't for saving aliens. It's for dissecting them." Luke stepped forward. "Then today, it's for saving someone who saved me." The man raised a remote. One step closer, and this whole room goes dark. Luke didn't hesitate. He tackled him, fist to jaw, remote flying across the floor. He grabbed the core. Pain shot through his hand. It was too hot, too much, but he held on, ran. The lights turned red. Alarms blared. He burst out of the lab, into Reese's waiting skimmer. "Go." They flew back through the storm. Back at the hideout, Lyra was still fading. Luke rushed in, core glowing in his arms like a second sun. Reese opened the containment unit. He placed the core inside. Lyra's body responded instantly. Her glow steadied. Her skin shimmered with light. Her breath deepened. Then, she opened her eyes. "You're hurt," she whispered. Luke looked down. His hand was burned. His skin cracked. Still holding energy. "It's nothing." She sat up, slowly, stronger now. She reached for him, touched his face, and this time, he glowed too. "You're connected to it now," she said. "You absorbed some of it." Luke shrugged. "I just needed you to live." She stared at him, then kissed him. Soft, slow. But this time, no sparks, no flickers. Just peace, warmth, real. Reese looked away, smirking. "You two are gonna make a mess of science." But outside, the sky was no longer dark. Something massive hovered above the clouds, waiting, watching. Because if she survived, they'd have to come back and finish what they started. And this time, she wouldn't be running. She wasn't just an alien. She was someone worth loving. The sky cracked open. A black ship hovered over the city again, larger now, louder, pulsing with strange light. But this time, Lyra didn't hide. She stood on the rooftop, her long coat flowing in the wind, eyes glowing steady and clear. Luke stood beside her, his arm wrapped, his palm still burned from the core. Reese watched from a distance, fingers tight on her gear. "You don't have to do this," Luke said. Lyra shook her head. "I do. Not for me. Not anymore. For every one of us who was told to disappear." The ship sent a message across the sky. A deep voice echoed across every screen. "Return the asset. This is your only warning." Lyra stepped forward, raised her hand, spoke in her language, soft, sharp, and full of truth. And this time, she didn't stutter. Her words translated across the air. "I am not your asset. I am not your tool. I am my own. And I am not alone." The ship charged its weapon. Lights pulsing red. Reese shouted, "Incoming." Luke moved in front of Lyra. "If they hit you, they hit me too." She touched his back. "Then let's show them what two hearts can do." The core inside her chest pulsed stronger. Her skin lit with patterns that hadn't been seen since her species was free. The ground shook. The clouds spun. And then she rose, not flying, floating, carried by the bond between them, by the energy Luke had shared, by the love they never asked for, but chose anyway. She raised both hands, and the blast from the ship hit her full force, but didn't burn. It stopped midair, turned white, and shattered. The ship stalled, systems failing. The voice panicked. "Impossible." She merged with him. She evolved. "She's no longer just one of us." And then the ship retreated, not destroyed, but defeated, by something it couldn't calculate. A choice, a connection, a life not designed, but chosen. Lyra lowered back to the rooftop, light fading gently from her skin. Luke caught her before her knees buckled. She looked up at him, smiling through tears. They'll never own me again. Because I was found, not by a system, but by you. He wiped her cheek. You were never lost, just waiting for someone to see you. That night, they didn't run. They didn't hide. They sat on the rooftop, watching the stars, and Lyra whispered, "Do you think I can stay here?" Luke took her hand. "I don't care where you're from. You're already home." Weeks later, a small beacon blinked in Reese's lab. A signal, not a threat, an invitation, from other hidden ones. Others like Lyra. Others who saw what she did. They didn't want war. They wanted a chance. And now, they had it. Because someone chose kindness first. Because one man saw a cold, hungry girl on the street and didn't look away. She wasn't just an alien. She was someone worth loving. The end.